My name is Maggie, and I work for a company. At 29 years old, I recently tied the knot with my husband, William, following over 2 years of courtship. We embarked on our marital journey in the same apartment I'd occupied since my days of singledom, a generous gift from my father upon securing my job. With my brother and his wife opting to live with our parents, I seized the opportunity to carve out my own path. My father, never short on resources, ensured I had a cozy apartment close to our family home. Whether his intention was to provide support or keep me nearby, I'm not entirely sure. Nonetheless, I found myself in a comfortable living space. William had previously resided in a cramped apartment, unsuitable for two. Hence, upon our decision to wed, he promptly relocated to my more spacious and affordable abode. My initial encounter with William's family residence occurred during a winter visit to their snow-laden locale. Having grown up in the city, the sheer volume of snow and bone-chilling temperatures astounded me. At William's family home, nestled in a snow-heavy region, I encountered a world entirely foreign to my urban upbringing. An old-fashioned house, reminiscent of a fairy tale setting, housed my mother-in-law and brother-in-law. Once, when William's father was alive, they dabbled in part-time farming amidst vast fields. Their nearest neighbors were a considerable distance away. What truly took me aback, however, was the placement of the toilet and bath outside the confines of the house. Initially, I believed I could handle occasional visits, but the thought of residing there long-term seemed daunting, particularly during harsh winters with snow and freezing temperatures. Summoning the courage to venture outside for a midnight bathroom break was a feat in itself, and the risk of catching a cold post-shower loomed large due to plummeting temperatures. During our marriage greetings, I didn't experience the shower ordeal firsthand, but navigating the outdoor toilet was undeniably challenging. Despite the hardships, my mother-in-law and brother-in-law were exceptionally kind, offering a sense of relief. Though we wouldn't be sharing a roof, the notion of us morphing into one family was comforting, and I yearned to cultivate a harmonious bond with them. However, a nagging concern lingered. My mother-in-law's demeanor shifted when alone with my husband, her smiles masking murmured grievances. Moreover, my brother-in-law's past marriage, shrouded in mystery due to my husband's reluctance to divulge details, fueled my unease. Although marital issues are commonplace, my husband's silence regarding his brother's divorce left me with unanswered questions. Despite my father's reassurances at our wedding, citing my mother-in-law's radiant smile as a sign of her kindness, doubts gnawed at me. I returned a smile to my father, but my mother's expression hinted at a different sentiment. Despite her pleasant facade in public, she often wore a grumpy countenance when she believed no one was watching. "Be careful," she cautioned me, "she might be two-faced." Yet I brushed off her warning, believing any potential issues would only arise if we lived together. Initially, our married life in the apartment unfolded joyfully, free from apprehension. However, 3 months into our union, a shift occurred. My husband gradually began shirking household responsibilities, unilaterally making decisions. Despite our agreement to share chores, he started to slack off. Initially, he'd assist with tasks like cleaning the bathroom or preparing dinner when I returned late from work. Yet, his willingness waned, leaving me burdened with these duties alone. Sometimes, his impatience would surface, demanding dinner hastily as he claimed fatigue from his own workday. My frustration mounted not just from the workload, but also from his unilateral decisions. Perhaps there were warning signs before marriage, but I had mistaken them for signs of decisiveness and reliability. Soon after our wedding, furniture and a sofa mysteriously arrived at our doorstep, leaving me bewildered. When questioned, my husband casually remarked, "I don't feel a current vibe of this room suits me," with a smile. So I contemplated the idea of replacing the furniture with pieces that suited my taste. However, my husband had different plans. He wanted to discard all my chosen furniture and overhaul the room to match his preferences. Had he consulted me, we could have selected new pieces together. Yet he acted independently, disregarding my preferences entirely. While he had every right to style his own space as he pleased, I found his unilateral decisions regarding our shared living area irksome. His design sense lacked coherence, leaving me speechless at the hodgepodge of mismatched furniture colors and shapes. Then he sprung an unexpected proposal on me. It would be nice if you could pay for it. After all, this was originally your apartment, wasn't it? I was already frustrated by his tasteless furniture takeover, and now he was asking me to foot the bill. I questioned him incredulously, pointing out that it was furniture he purchased on his own. Uncharacteristically, I stood my ground firmly, unwilling to let him off the hook. Despite the tensions at home, we decided to spend our first Christmas as a married couple at his parents' house. It was my inaugural visit, and I felt a mix of anxiety and nervousness. Yet my mother-in-law greeted me kindly, assuring me that I could relax there. Still, I couldn't shake off a sense of caution, recalling my mother's advice. There might be a hidden side to my mother-in-law, I thought. During my stay, I observed my mother-in-law mostly resting, reminiscing about past times when brides ate alone in the kitchen. Confused by her tales, I noticed my brother-in-law subtly cautioning her, but my husband remained oblivious. As I endured my mother-in-law's sarcastic remarks, I couldn't help but wonder about the dynamics within their family. I volunteered to tidy up after dinner, but she waved me off with a smile, insisting, "I'll do it. I wouldn't want you to break any of our precious dishes." Her words echoed my mother's earlier advice, hitting home with their accuracy. The first day brimmed with her subtle sarcasm, setting an uneasy tone. The following day, events took a darker turn. With my husband out drinking with friends and my brother-in-law on a fire brigade trip, it was just my mother-in-law and me. Frankly, I felt a knot of nerves tightening in my stomach. After dinner, as she stepped into the shower, I finally began to relax. But her parting words, "I'm going to bed now, make sure to lock the front door," jolted me back to reality. Awkwardly, I affirmed her instruction and readied myself to bathe in the separate bathhouse. A chilly prospect for this unaccustomed city dweller. As I settled into the tub, the lights in the main house abruptly went out. An initial assumption of a power outage wavered when I noticed neighboring lights still aglow. Straining to hear over the water, I thought I detected faint footsteps outside. Hesitantly, I remained motionless, listening intently. Soon, darkness enveloped me, prompting suspicion that my mother-in-law might be orchestrating a cruel prank. Despite doubting her capable of such malice, her penchant for sarcasm with a smile planted seeds of unease. Hastily drying off and changing into pajamas, I fumbled in the pitch-black room. Moonlight eventually filtered in, granting me some visibility. As I pondered the absurdity of the situation, my attempts to exit the room proved futile. The door remained stubbornly shut, impervious to my efforts. Panic began to set in. Though a window offered an escape route, its bars sealed my fate. Thankfully, I had my smartphone, a beacon of hope in the darkness. I attempted to reach my husband for assistance, but he remained unresponsive. On the third try, he finally picked up, only to bellow loudly, clearly intoxicated and preoccupied with his revelry. Desperately, I pleaded for his help, explaining my predicament with the bathroom door refusing to budge. His response, dismissive and vague, offered little comfort. He blamed me for showering at such a time, citing his inebriation as a barrier to his assistance before abruptly ending the call. Subsequent attempts to reach him proved futile as he seemingly switched off his phone. Contemplating my options, I considered involving the authorities but hesitated, fearing potential repercussions from my mother-in-law's wrath. Instead, I resolved to seek a means of escape independently. Shouting for help through the frozen bathroom window proved fruitless. With each passing moment, the threat of freezing in the frigid confines loomed larger. Just as I was on the verge of contacting emergency services, a voice from outside shattered the silence, inquiring about the power outage. Relief flooded over me as I realized someone was attempting to assist. With gentle knocking, the door finally yielded, granting me freedom. Profoundly grateful, I thanked the elderly neighbor who had come to my aid. His muttered comment about my mother-in-law's habitual behavior added a somber note to the situation. Guided to safety at the neighbor's house, I was met with surprise from his wife. After the neighbor explained the ordeal, she welcomed me warmly, offering solace in the form of a blanket. It was a small comfort in the face of the unsettling events of the evening. Clad only in pajamas, I found solace in a cup of warm tea graciously offered by the elderly neighbor once my nerves had settled. It was then that the old man disclosed unsettling tales of my mother-in-law's history of tormenting her daughters-in-law. Your mother-in-law has a habit of bullying her son's wives, he explained gravely. She's locked several in the bath before. The wife of the eldest son suffered multiple incidents and eventually left the house. Even your husband's previous fiancé fell victim to her schemes. As the old couple recounted, they had noticed the bathroom light shining in the darkness, prompting their intervention. Aware of our marriage, they expressed concern that my mother-in-law might repeat her past behavior. With the hour growing late and the main house securely locked, I opted to spend the night with the neighbors. Awakening to the sound of an ambulance siren the next morning, I peered out the window to witness its arrival at my in-laws' house. My husband stood frozen by the detached bathroom, his expression tense. I hurried towards the commotion, fearing the worst. Perhaps my husband had mistaken my absence for an emergency and summoned help. However, the reality that unfolded was far more surreal. My husband, upon seeing me, erupted in accusations, questioning why his mother lay motionless in the bathroom. Stunned by his words, I cautiously approached the scene, peering into the bathroom to witness a figure lying prone on the floor. Relief washed over me as the woman stirred, indicating that her condition was not critical. It was my mother-in-law, her features unmistakable even in the dim light. I couldn't comprehend why she lay there, motionless. A paramedic explained that she had likely slipped on soap, losing consciousness from the impact. My panic during the blackout may have caused me to scatter items like soap, which remained unnoticed in the darkness. In the early morning, my mother-in-law might have entered the bathroom to check on me, only to slip and fall due to the soap. As she was carried past on a stretcher, her stern glare bore into me. Later, when my husband was transported to the hospital, the neighbors offered their relief that I remained unharmed. They saw it as divine retribution for the hardships I faced as a daughter-in-law. Grateful for their intervention, I reflected on how fortunate I was, realizing that the outcome could have been different if not for the old man's timely help. After changing, I informed my brother-in-law about my mother-in-law's hospitalization. He decided to rush to the hospital immediately. Alone, I returned to the detached bathroom, contemplating the events of the previous night. There, I noticed a stick used to bar the door shut, explaining why I couldn't escape. That afternoon, my mother-in-law returned home, her anger directed at me for leaving the bathroom without informing her. As I pondered my response, my husband joined in, blaming me for the ordeal. However, my brother-in-law intervened, condemning their cruel game of locking me in the bathroom. Later, my brother-in-law returned, ready to leave the house for good. Fed up with his role as caretaker, he announced his departure, leaving my husband and mother-in-law to their devices. Unable to endure the toxicity any longer, I followed suit, requesting my brother-in-law to drop me off at the nearby station. My husband's desperate attempts to stop me only fueled my resolve. Firmly, I declared my intent to divorce, reminding him of his indifference to my plight the day before. I vowed to prepare the divorce papers myself, determined to break free from the suffocating atmosphere. I sat in my brother-in-law's car as he drove me to the nearest station, his apologies pouring forth. "I'm truly sorry, Maddie. I never imagined you'd suffer like this. Those cruel people are strangers to me now," he confessed earnestly. Once back in my apartment, I wasted no time. I drafted the divorce papers and began packing my husband's belongings. Upon his return, he was taken aback to find his things neatly packed. My mention of divorce seemed to him a jest until he laid eyes on the papers. Infuriated, he dismissed my concerns as trivial. Realizing further conversation was futile, I quietly handed him the documents. Reluctantly, he signed them, and just like that, he was gone. However, it became evident that he lacked the means to secure another place to stay. Throughout our marriage, he had been reliant on my income, often squandering his own and accumulating debt. Initially crashing with a coworker, even that support dwindled over time, leaving him isolated and jobless. Meanwhile, rumors swirled about my mother-in-law's behavior, painting her as the catalyst for our divorce. She, too, faced solitude and financial strain, abandoned by both family and neighbors. With my brother-in-law also gone, she struggled to make ends meet on her pension, isolated in the countryside without any assistance. In the aftermath of the divorce, I rid my home of the garish furniture my husband had chosen, embracing a fresh start with pieces of my own preference. Hopeful for a brighter future and open to new, positive encounters, I embarked on a journey of self-renewal.